connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Good morning, Idaho, and halfway through the show this morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Glad to have you along with us. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, and we have a lot to get to this morning. As usual, our large team of neighborhood reporters like Riley Shoemaker bringing us details from the courthouse as the former Caldwell cop Ryan Bendewald, once accused of using his badge for sexual favors, was found not guilty on all counts. We've been covering that story for you for the last few weeks. Plus, our Don Nelson exploring the limits of the First Amendment after the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel following his monologue, which touched on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He brings us local reactions, and we'll get to those stories coming up in just a bit. But first, let's get the latest on our weather with Isaiah Sharp, who's filling in this morning. Happy Friday, man.
Good morning. Happy Friday to you. We were talking about skiing just a few moments ago. These warm temperatures, we're nowhere close to having any snow moving on in. Really great conditions, though, if you do enjoy some sunshine and some warmer temperatures. Going to be sitting into those upper 80s. I'll show you the forecast in a few seconds. Current temperature sitting just a smidge cooler into those 60s. A beautiful shot of downtown Boise, and heading into this weekend, it's gonna be gorgeous. We might have a couple of showers lingering on in. I'll show you where those are gonna pop up coming up in my main forecast, but 87 on the way for Boise, 90 degrees for Glens Ferry, 70s into those mountain ranges, but the cooler temperatures are gonna drift on down into the valley regions. We'll talk about the cool down that's on the way, chances of showers as well, so stick around for my forecast. It's in a few moments.
Thanks, Isaiah. Let's start this morning with breaking news that we first brought you last night at 10 o'clock as the hunt for wanted fugitive Travis Decker appears to have come to an end, and this is what we know. Overnight, authorities believe they have found the remains of Travis Decker near Leavenworth, Washington. As we reported, Decker is accused of murdering his 3 daughters near a Washington campground, and he had eluded law enforcement since May 30th. Authorities have been searching for Decker for the last 3 months. Positive identification has not been confirmed yet this morning, but the Chelan County Sheriff's Office says preliminary findings suggest the remains are Travis Decker. We'll bring you more details as forensic testing and investigative work progresses. Good news out of Blaine County. Heather Wayment, the hiker who went missing on Tuesday, has been safely located. According to the Blaine County Sheriff's Office, she was found by a group of mountain bikers 17 miles away from her vehicle on a remote trail in Camas County. Those mountain bikers were not part of the extensive search and rescue crew, but were able to contact emergency officials using a satellite phone, and she was taken to a Boise hospital.
After years of investigation, the trial of former Caldwell Police Sergeant Ryan Bendewald ends with not guilty verdicts across the board. I'm your North End neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker at the federal courthouse, and I was inside that packed courtroom as the jury read that verdict.
Jurors deliberated for just a few hours before determining Bendewald is not guilty on all 5 federal charges. He faced 3 counts of deprivation of rights under color of law and 2 counts of federal bribery. The case stemmed from a 2020 FBI investigation into corruption inside the Caldwell Police Department. Bendewald was officially charged in October of 2023. Another officer swept up in that same investigation, former Lieutenant Joseph Hoadley, was convicted in 2023 of witness tampering and destroying records. He was sentenced to 3 months in federal prison. Throughout Bendewald's trial, jurors listened to nearly 2 weeks of testimony from women who claimed Bendewald used his position to target them. One woman testified he pulled her over in 2018 and demanded sexual favors following a traffic stop. Others described encounters they felt were coercive or inappropriate. Former and current officers also took the stand describing, quote, unusual encounters with Bendewald and raising concerns about his behavior while on duty. Prosecutors argued these patterns showed he abused his badge to target vulnerable women and traded on his power as an officer. But the defense, which presented its case in just over a day, told jurors the accounts were inconsistent and unreliable. They portrayed Bendewald as a veteran sergeant who helped put dangerous criminals behind bars. Throughout the trial, the courtroom was often full, with supporters, family members, and former colleagues watching closely.
Bendewald and his family, who were all in the courtroom, cried when that decision was announced. And he now walks free, cleared of all charges. I'm your North End neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker, Idaho News 6.
Napa police are investigating a spike in vehicle burglaries and even thefts by suspects canvassing neighborhoods looking for easy targets. Unlocked doors, open windows, or keys left inside. Those are easy targets. If the keys are there, they're taking the car. Police say multiple suspects are involved, and they wait until dark, get dropped off at one end of a neighborhood, and work their way through to the other side. So far, officers don't have clear images of the suspects, though. The fix? Simple. Make sure you lock your doors, roll up your windows, and never leave keys or valuables like firearms in your car. And as colder weather moves in, don't make yourself the easiest target. Never leave your car running and unattended in the driveway to warm it up.
For Idaho News 6, I'm senior reporter Don Nelson. The U.S. Constitution says we, the people, have the freedom of speech to a certain extent, something Jimmy Kimmel found out about this week.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
And with that, and a few more words criticizing how President Trump grieved Charlie Kirk's death, Jimmy Kimmel was suspended indefinitely by ABC.
It would be one thing for a comic like Jimmy Kimmel to stand on the steps of our state capitol and say exactly what he just said. No problem at all, right? He's doing so in the context of his employment, and his employers can make employment decisions based on the things that he says.
If you're asking my opinion of it, yeah, I feel like I've heard worse.
KBUI radio talk show host Nate Shellman, who's not afraid to tackle controversial topics, was on the air when he heard the news about Kimmel's suspension.
We have a duty, we have a responsibility to talk about what's going on out there, to have a take. I don't know if he picked the wrong time to tell a joke on the back of an assassination.
Where are we in this country? What's the vibe you get here in the Treasure Valley on your show?
I think there's a lot of hurt. I think there's a lot of anger.
Jan Adams and Brian Lee are co-owners of the Comedy Lounge in Boise. They have booked hundreds of comics who expressed their views on stage.
How many thousands of times have people laughed at things that Kimmel has said? And now this one time he said something that they didn't like. If we did that, if we had a comic here and out of an hour, there was one joke that we didn't like, so we didn't book him back. Well, now we're in dangerous territory. We're not going to have anybody to book because of one joke out of, 200 that the comic told.
In Nampa, I'm senior reporter Don Nelson, Idaho News 6.
Late night hosts rallying around Jimmy Kimmel overnight. Stephen Colbert had this to say in last night's monologue.
And to Jimmy, just let me say, I stand with you and your staff 100%. It is so bizarre to see an American president weighing in so vehemently on TV shows. It reminds me when Reagan said this.
Mr. Gorbachev, cancel the Golden Girls.
Seth Meyers on his show last night saying, quote, "We must all stand up for the principles of free expression. There is a reason free speech is the very First Amendment. It stands above all others." Jon Stewart on The Daily Show saying, "This administration's speech concerns are merely a cynical ploy, a thin gruel of a ruse, a smokescreen to obscure consolidation of power." And Jay Leno on NBC News sharing his thoughts, saying in part, "I think Jimmy will land on his feet. It's a comedian talking. If you don't like it, don't watch it." As we reported, Disney, ABC pulled the show off the air after pressure from the Trump administration following Kimmel's comments during his monologue Monday about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. President Trump, returning from the UK, suggested the FCC should take licenses away from broadcasters that are repeatedly critical of him.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
A move that would seem at odds with an executive order the president signed on day one in office, pledging to protect free speech.
A young Caldwell boy was from this St. Luke's in Boise all the way to Tennessee to receive a gift his family has been waiting for. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Victoria Rodriguez, and after months of uncertainty, Levi finally has a life-saving match. Levi Hilius is just 5 years old. Back in May, he started waking up in the middle of the night with leg pain, and one morning walked into the kitchen looking extremely pale. His mom, Ashley, knew something wasn't right and rushed him to the doctor. By that night, labs revealed Levi's condition was critical.
Where he got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It was really high risk and rare. We actually were told he has leukemia in the exact same room that our daughter was recovering from.
Same room, and then
same PICU.
Levi's leukemia is extremely rare, affecting just 0.3% of children, and is resistant to chemotherapy. Because of the severity, within 48 hours he was flown to St. Jude's in Tennessee.
I don't think I have ever seen a life flight to St. Jude's that way. He had just been diagnosed, and so he was at a point in his treatment where he is the highest risk. It's called induction, and that's the very first phase when they still have a lot of leukemia cells. He had to get life flighted because that was the only safe way.
At St. Luke's, doctors and nurses acted fast, running tests, stabilizing Levi, and coordinating every detail for his safe transfer. Levi's parents say the Caldwell community has been incredible, from neighbors helping with pets in homes to churches organizing events to search for a donor.
And it means so much more than we could ever express. And it's truly the small community and our friends and family back in Idaho that have been keeping us going here in Memphis, Tennessee.
And now, after months of uncertainty, Levi found a bone marrow match, a crucial step that could save his life.
It's very exciting. They have to do full testing and lots of different workups on the person that's going to be donating, so that takes a little bit of time. So it's a lot of coordination, and it's all very time sensitive. So it's a big deal.
Levi's family has set up a GoFundMe page to cover his medical expenses and a Facebook page to keep up with their journey. Reporting in Boise, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Victoria Rodriguez for Idaho News 6.
When we get back, details on the changes coming down from the CDC on vaccine guidelines for children. What we know coming up. Take a look at your national headlines this morning at 14 minutes past the hour. Congress races against the clock to avoid a government shutdown September 30th. Both chambers are voting on competing funding bills today. Now, the Republican plan offers 7 weeks of clean funding with enhanced lawmaker security included. The Democratic version runs through October and reverses Medicaid cuts while protecting Obamacare subsidies. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Republicans have the votes for their plan in the Senate. Neither bill appears to have enough support, though, to pass. Congressional Democrats unveiled a bill to strengthen free speech protections after ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. The suspension came following threats from FCC Chairman Brendan Carr over Kimmel's comments about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Democrats criticized the Trump administration for pressuring the network. The lone Democratic FCC commissioner called Carr's actions government censorship that threatens democracy. Legal experts say Kimmel could have a strong case against Carr, but may not want to sue for business reasons. And Russia and Vietnam have developed a system to apparently hide arms payments and avoid U.S. sanctions. Internal Vietnamese documents obtained by the Associated Press reveal the country's use of profits from joint oil ventures to pay for defense contracts without banking transfers. Vietnam has purchased Russian fighter jets, tanks, and ships on credit, and then paid back the loans through energy profits. The arrangement could damage Vietnam's growing ties with the United States as President Trump threatens tougher sanctions on Moscow. And this morning, a Centers for Disease Control panel will decide whether or not to change vaccine guidelines that have long been recommended for children, including whether to continue administering hepatitis B vaccines for all newborns. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio takes a look.
This morning, a critical vote is set to be taken on whether to keep recommending the hepatitis B vaccine for all newborns.
Let's just pause for a second. We have the ability to prevent children from getting cancer if we give every child a hepatitis B birth dose.
For decades, giving the shot at birth has been standard and is credited with virtually eliminating hepatitis B among babies in the U.S. But today, the Centers for Disease Control's Vaccine Advisory Committee will decide whether to end that universal birth dose, recommending it only for babies of mothers who test positive, letting other babies wait at least a month. Critics warn that could miss infants when testing isn't done or when results are wrong.
That's why the safety net of the birth dose is so important.
The committee also plans to vote on the COVID-19 vaccine recommendation today. It comes after the panel decided Thursday to limit the availability of the widely used combination vaccine that fights the measles, mumps, rubella, and the virus that causes chickenpox, meaning children could need to get those shots separately during multiple doctor's visits. The American Academy of Pediatrics blasting the recommendations from the new CDC advisory panel.
I say you should disregard anything that comes from this committee.
they don't seem to care about the actual science. They seem to care about promoting false claims and myths and rumors and junk science.
The changes come from the new advisors picked by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, a longtime anti-vaccine activist who fired all the members of the previous committee and filled the panel with several members who share his own views on vaccinations. Now 7 northeastern U.S. states, including New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, have banded together to form a new public health coalition that will make its own vaccine recommendations.
There's a similar effort happening on the West Coast. California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii creating the West Coast Health Alliance, and this week rolled out their own vaccine recommendations for families. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
In West Boise, I'll tell you about an $11 million levy voters will see on their ballots in November.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Well, you take one look at the Pacific Northwest and you think, fall has arrived. We're in the middle of September, right? That's wrong. Take a look at all these temperatures sitting into the upper 80s. 90 degrees expected in Glens Ferry today. We do have a couple of spots that are feeling a bit more fall-like. You take a look at those mountain ranges into the 70s. Jackson, Wyoming sitting at 67. Take a look at Newport at 67 too, but Medford breaking up the party at 89 degrees. It's impressive seeing all of this heat. We've got a high pressure ridge that's sitting right over the top of southern Idaho. You see this bend right here, that arc, that white line is indication of that ridge. And you see a couple of flakes of rain on your screen on top of that too. We got some tropical moisture that's going to make its way in and a low pressure system that's going to shake some things up, dropping those temperatures. But let's focus on the rain before we get to the temperatures. Chances of showers expected for the Twin Falls area going into tomorrow morning, and then Saturday afternoon the mountain ranges are going to be peppered with a little bit of rain on the way. Chances of even some thunderstorms in the Mini-Cassia area, so people over in Burley might see a little bit of action there. Going into Sunday, skies expected to clear out nicely, and Monday's looking great too. Let's take a look at the global forecasting system. This will have just a little bit of a different perspective from that futurecast I showed you a few seconds ago. But here's chances of showers moving into Sunday. Might see a little bit of activity going into the morning time, but you see just how light that green is and how dark Portland is. There's definite chances of showers for Portland going into Sunday. I'm going to give these lighter chances, probably 20-30%, and maybe a couple of scattered showers, but then skies should clear out really nicely for the rest of Sunday. Afternoon into the mountain ranges for the Oahe's and for the eastern, western, central mountains, they're going to see some activity. But the focus of this low pressure system, the blue that's on your screen, it makes a natural counterclockwise motion, and what that's going to do, it's going to draw down all of this all these cool weather conditions from Canada, bring them into the Boise region. So we're talking like upper 70s on the way. Nice conditions expected Sunday into Monday, but then quickly after that, heading into Tuesday, this high pressure ridge is going to build right back in and warm those temperatures up. So let's take a look at the daytime highs moving into the next couple of days. Chances of showers moving into Sunday, light chances of showers moving into Sunday, but like I said, 20-30% chances. I can only give them so much validity. 78 on the way for Sunday, Monday. That's that cool down that's expected. Take a look at the overnight at 49 degrees. It's going to be chilly, but then temperatures warming quickly back up. 80s expected across the board. Nice skies on top of that too.
Purchasing open spaces all across Boise and funding improvement projects like the Settlers Canal Path here in West Boise is paid for using funds from a levy passed in 2015. I'm your West Boise neighborhood reporter Brady Caskey, and that money is nearly used up. Now Boise Parks and Rec is asking voters to approve a new $11 million levy in November.
I've lived in a couple of cities, and this has kind of been my favorite when it's come to parks.
Keenan Mueller lives close by to the newly opened Settlers Canal Path.
We're always excited whenever there's new paths around just to keep things fresh and just take our dog to new places.
He says he utilizes Boise's parks often and would support a levy to see more of them in his neighborhood. The $11 million levy would help fund the purchase of land for new parks, improvement projects, clean water initiatives, and even wildfire restoration and mitigation.
You know, the quality of life from a park and recreation perspective in the city of Boise is amazing.
The levy needs a simple majority of 50% plus one vote to pass. Reporting in West Boise, I'm Brady Caskey for Idaho News 6.
In Boise's West End, work is officially underway for big upgrades at Veterans Memorial Park. Major upgrades are coming to Boise's Veterans Memorial Park. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Sahana Patel, in the West End, where city leaders broke ground on this over $500,000 project.
3, 2, 1.
It's already a popular place to relax and play.
This is probably our favorite park. It's just got the most amenities.
And Veterans Memorial Park is about to get even more amenities. Thursday, Boise Parks and Recreation kicked off the $660,000 renovation project, adding an 18-hole disc golf course, ADA pathways, and a nature playground.
That sounds awesome. He would really enjoy that.
But off camera, some park goers expressed concerns over noise and big crowds. Boise Parks and Recreation Director Doug Holloway says design choices help keep the park balanced.
We still have areas of the park that are very, very secluded. The disc golf course away from some of the areas that we know are popular picnicking areas.
And Holloway adds, even with upgrades, the feel of the park will stay the same.
Even though there will be some adjustments to some of the vegetation that we have here, for the most part, you're not going to see a lot of difference.
The city has already started on the infrastructure and security upgrades, starting with Light Post. The new park features are expected to be open spring 2026. In the West End, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Sahana Patel, for Idaho News 6.
All right, it is 6:27 on this Friday. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good to have you along, and we have a lot more in store in our next half hour. Here's what's still to come from your neighborhood reporters.
In Meridian, reaction from Idaho's largest public schools after a lawsuit challenges school choice legislation that offers families tax credits to cover private school costs.
The Federal Reserve lowers interest rates this week. How that could affect your wallet, especially if you're looking to move.
Now we'll look outside from the Treasure Valley Chevy Dealers Tower Cam.
Connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Hey everybody, happy Friday, TGIF, and welcome back to Good Morning Idaho. Into our last half hour this morning, I'm senior reporter Roland Barris. Lots to get to in this half hour. Our Keith Burrell is going to start us off with reactions from realtors after the Federal Reserve announced that they'd be cutting interest rates. Already have and will again soon. Generally good news if you're trying to buy or sell a house. Plus, our Greenlee Clark highlighting a 5-year-old Emmett girl whose life changed forever when a rare illness left her nearly paralyzed from the neck down. How her community rallied around her. We'll have that story coming up as well. But first, let's get the latest on our weather. Isaiah Sharp is in this morning for Sophia Cruz. Happy Friday, and it's looking like a great weekend.
Oh, I'm excited for it. Temperatures looking nice. Skies are looking pretty great too. Couple of chances of showers that might put a bit of a damper on some plans if you are heading up to the mountain ranges, but conditions are looking nice. We are expecting a dip in temperatures after a warm day today. Currently sitting into those 60s and light winds too, still waiting for that sunshine to arrive, and temperatures looking semi-summer like 90 degrees. I thought we were done with the 90s like the Cowboys, but it looks as though we're going to be sticking to them. 80s expected up in the Treasure Valley region and 70s into those mountain ranges, but we might start to see those temperatures drift on down from the mountains into the valley areas as a low pressure system is going to be dropping those conditions. So stick around for my forecast. Temperatures are going to be falling. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few moments.
Sounds good. Thanks for that, Isaiah. And we turn now to the news and a controversial tax credit allowing parents to get public money for choosing to not send their kids to public school. And it sparked a lawsuit. Allie Tripke has the details.
A new lawsuit reignites the conversation about who should or shouldn't have access to taxpayer money to help cover the cost of private school tuition. I'm Meridian neighborhood reporter Allie Tripke checking in with the state's largest private schools for their thoughts on the latest legal challenge that's headed to the Idaho Supreme Court. Pro-public school petitioners are urging the state's highest court to block the enforcement of House Bill 93, that's now law, saying it goes against Idaho's constitution of maintaining a free public school system.
Voucher subsidies create a second separate system, but free from accountability, free from transparency, and free from the oversight required of public schools.
But private school educators say this new law will allow for Idaho families to have more freedom of choice when it comes to their child's education.
Alan Howlett is the superintendent for Coal Valley Christian Schools, managing over 1,000 students from early childhood through 12th grade. He voiced his support for House Bill 93 during the legislative session.
Our hope is that younger families and families that might struggle financially to put their students in school option would have that option.
In Meridian, I'm neighborhood reporter Ali Tripke for Idaho News 6.
The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates this week, and local realtors are reacting to the first rate cuts in more than a year. I'm your Nampa neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell, and that 0.25% cut means that more homes in your neighborhood could be going from for sale to sold.
It signals that the federal government is paying attention, that's what the public is wanting to see in order to start coming back to the table to purchase homes.
The 0.25% interest rate cut comes after months of pressure from President Trump for the U.S.'s central bank to lower interest rates.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says they've been taking into account new tariffs, the labor market, and inflation.
I think we're now reacting to the much lower level of job creation and other evidence of softening in the labor market and saying, well, those risks are maybe not fully balanced, but moving in the direction of balance now. And so that warrants a change in policy.
Powell warns inflation is still a concern, but the drop should make it easier for Idahoans to qualify for a home loan. When interest rates shot up to over 7% in October of 23, Boise Regional Realtors president-elect tells me many clients had to cancel contracts.
If they weren't already locked, they were unable to purchase the home that they maybe had a contract on, and rates suddenly jumped, and they couldn't qualify to make the payment on the new rate adjustment because they went up so quickly.
The Idaho Housing and Finance Association tells me that the average home loan rate has fallen that same 0.25% in the last few weeks in anticipation of the Reserve's decision.
And now we're seeing that coming back in that range of that low 6s to high 5s, which definitely, with the trend of the rates coming down, makes things more affordable, especially those that are first-time home buyers that are concerned about, budget numbers, monthly mortgage payments.
The organization offers many forms of assistance through buyer education.
They allow a borrower or prospective buyer to bring as little as $500 of their own money to the table. And then they could get help through a second mortgage for the down payment assistance, for their closing costs, anything else they might need.
Experts are telling me they're expecting the Federal Reserve to make 2 more cuts before the end of the year, and realtors are telling me they're expecting more into 2026. From Nampa, I'm your Nampa neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell for Idaho News 6.
6:35 on a Friday morning. Let's take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood today. A night for parents to take a night off and enjoy themselves in Star. The City of Star Recreation hosting a parent night out from 6 to 10 tonight, offering a fun activity-filled evening for kids ages 4 to 11. It's $20 per child at the Star Recreation Building next to Star Police and Fire Stations. Might be a little trickier to find parking in downtown Boise today as the city participates in Parking Day. It's a public event across the world that temporarily repurposes curbside parking spaces and converts them into public parks and social spaces to advocate for safer, greener, and more equitable streets for people. That's going on from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Never heard of that before. And in Caldwell, the 22nd annual Indian Creek Festival kicks off for the weekend officially. Our Leslie Solis brought you a preview of the cardboard kayak race earlier this week. That looks like so much fun, and that is slated for tomorrow from 3 p.m. on. And today you can enjoy the classic car show and live music courtesy of Smooth Avenue from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
A 5-year-old Emmett girl's life changed forever when a rare illness left her nearly paralyzed from the neck down. I'm your Emmett neighborhood reporter, Greenlee Clark, with the inspiring story of how this neighborhood is coming together with a huge gift to help her family keep moving forward.
This year we had a lot of people step up.
When the Gem County Real Estate Association gathers for their monthly meeting, they often talk business. But the focus this time around is on 5-year-old Sophia Rambo, whose life changed in an instant 3 years ago.
My daughter was at home with me all alone, and she just mysteriously collapsed on the floor.
Sophia was diagnosed with a rare condition called acute flaccid myelitis. AFM is a rare condition that damages the spinal cord, interrupting the signals from her brain to the rest of her body.
In the beginning, when she started doing therapy, it was really hard on us parents to watch her cry every single session. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows.
She still spends up to 20 hours a week in intensive physical therapy. Her parents say Sophia is known for her positive attitude, and when frustration hits, she channels it into working even harder toward her recovery.
We kind of had to just completely put our trust in God and just have faith that He's in the driver's seat doing something with this.
Sophia's journey earned her the title of 2025 St. Luke's Children's Miracle Network Champion, inspiring local realtors to raise money through their annual golf tournament.
$15,000 to Sophia.
The Rambo family walked away with a $15,000 check that will help them buy a wheelchair-accessible van for when Sophia receives her power chair, allowing her more independence at school, in stores, and keeping up with her older brother, Troy.
We're just so grateful for the community, and just Jim County is just amazing, and just all the support that we've been given over the last couple years, and we haven't had to ask for anything. Everyone just just stands up and says, "We've got you."
Another neighborhood fundraising event is set for November 14th at Willow Grove Events, with doors opening at 5 p.m. I'm your Emmett neighborhood reporter, Greenlee Clark, for Idaho News 6.
We look into the roadless rule the Trump administration proposes to rescind.
Idaho Back Roads, brought to you by Treasure Valley Subaru.
This is a brutal one. I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, and we look into the roadless rule the Trump administration is proposing to rescind, as the public has through Friday to voice their opinion. First off, this decision will not currently affect Idaho because the Gem State has its own roadless rule put into effect by Jim Rich when he served as governor in 2008. To give you an idea of a roadless area, I hiked to the top of Sunrise Peak in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest in Washington State. The roadless rule aims to preserve wild, undeveloped lands for the sake of wildlife and the ecosystem. The Sierra Club in Idaho worries about impacts to roadless areas if the rule gets removed.
It opens those up to development by logging companies, mining companies, and others. And we know that for the sake of the environment, for the sake of all of us who love and appreciate and recreate, that we need to protect rules like that protect our forests.
The roadless rule got put into place in 2001 and includes around 45 million acres, with about a third of those being in Alaska. The head of the Forest Service has gone on record saying not managing roadless areas hasn't worked, especially when it comes to wildfires, saying firefighters face a tougher challenge without established roads, and it hasn't allowed preventative measures like prescribed burning and logging.
It just hasn't worked like they wanted it to work, and that's because we just can't get in there and manage the forest. A healthy forest is a beautiful thing, I tell everybody, and that's one thing we can all agree on. And the people who keep our forests healthy are our loggers.
The public has until midnight on Friday to submit their thoughts to the Forest Service. I'll have a link on this story on our website if you want to voice your opinion. I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, for Idaho News 6.
Man, you can always rely on Steve Dent to have just gorgeous shots. Those drone videos are absolutely incredible. The story heading into today and a little bit of this weekend is the warmer temperatures, but we are going to see a slight dip as a low pressure system makes its way across that Canadian border. Coming up in my main forecast, we'll talk about the cool down on the way.
Idaho News 6 Allergy Report is brought to you by Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy Clinic.
Quick update on that allergy report. Looks as though sage season is still strong. One of the highest, as you can see on our screen right now. Ragweed also up there. Nothing too much to worry about, but still, sage is going to be continuing on. So if you have worries about that pollen, just be prepared heading into the weekend. It's going to be high.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
And taking one look at the Pacific Northwest going into today, and it doesn't feel as though fall has arrived. We do have a couple more days before the first day of fall, which actually arrives on the 22nd. And so just give it a little bit of time. Hopefully the temperatures will start to participate with the switching of the seasons. But you look at this, 87 expected in Boise, 87 in Yakima. Rome's going to be sitting at 87 too. Temperatures a little bit cooler over in Jackson, Wyoming, a little bit cooler over in Newport on top of that too. Medford almost breaking into the 90s. But but you can just notice across the board we're sitting into those mid to upper 80s. Not so fall-like. The mountain ranges are feeling slightly like it, but we do have a little bit of a shift in the winds that may be on the way. This is the current weather pattern that we're seeing right now, and you can see that heat sitting over the top of us. This line that you see right here, it's starting to recede a little bit. That's a high pressure ridge it's built on, and you may notice a couple of flakes of rain on your screen on top of that as well. That is because of a tropical storm that passed through California. It's going to make its way and have a little bit of an impact over the southern part of Idaho, but then we've got a low pressure system that's going to bring some precipitation too. Nothing really showing over the Boise region heading into this weekend. We might see a little bit of activity Saturday into those mountain ranges, and you can see the Mini-Cassia area may receive a bit of activity too, but it looks as though Treasure Valley may be clear. At least this is what this this graphic, I should say, is showing. This is the global forecasting system that might show a little bit of a different story. So there's that low pressure system up in the Pacific Northwest, closer to the Alaska region. It's going to drop on down and bring in chances of rain moving on in. You can see a little bit of that disruption that's happening over the Treasure Valley. And so Sunday morning might see a couple of scattered showers, a lot of activity over the Portland area, even up into Seattle, but we might see some stray storms passing on through our region. The Oahu's will get a little bit of activity into Sunday afternoon, and a drop in temperatures too. This low pressure system, you can kind of see this counterclockwise motion is going to be dropping some of those cooler conditions from Canada down on into the Treasure Valley. It's only going to last for a little bit. The first and second day of fall might actually be some of the warmest that we see as another high pressure ridge will build on in. Let's take a look at some of those temperatures. 83 on the way for your Saturday. There's that dip in temperatures with the 70s on the way for Sunday, Monday. But it doesn't last for long. The clear skies will come along with it as well. Take a look at the low between Sunday and Monday. It is going to be chilly. 49 is on the way, but temperatures warm right back up, and pretty consistent 80s are expected after that. Might see a slight dip heading into Friday, but the first day of fall sitting at 78 and the second day at the mid 80s. Impressive to see that.
Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
And a quick view from the Grove Tower cam. Conditions looking fairly nice when it comes to the traffic. Nothing too crazy on a Friday. And looking Caldwell to downtown Boise sitting at 30 minutes. A little bit of congestion starting to pick up just after Eagle Road, but it looks as though a pretty nice day up to this point. If you're heading the other direction, 16 minutes from downtown Boise to Meridian. Nice and clear for the westbound traffic, I should say. Some travel times from across the region. Caldwell to Garrity sitting at 13 minutes. Garrity to Eagle sitting at 7, and Eagle to downtown Boise 7 as well.
It can be a tricky time for businesses in Idaho as retailers look to draw customers away from online options with unique offerings. I'm your Twin Falls neighborhood reporter, Lori Nettleton, and for this week's Made in Idaho, I'll be introducing you to the crafty family that makes nearly everything themselves for their stationery store here at the Magic Valley Mall.
So right now I'm building what we call a blind date with a book.
This is one of the best-selling items in Laura Godfrey's Twin Falls stationery store, the Paper Crane.
So this is a great way to fall in love with a book without judging the book by its cover.
Godfrey and her daughter Alicia run the store, churning out items like these cuddly crocheted critters at breakneck pace.
I'm crocheting one of my pink froggies. They're one of our most popular things in both green and pink.
We were already crafters, we were already DIYers, and we were already like stationery type girlies. And I just went home one day and I said, do you want to start a stationery business with me? And she said, absolutely, I do.
The store is stocked with all kinds of paper goods and stickers, everything you need for journaling, organizing, reading, and gifting. All of it designed and most of it made here at the store by hand.
You can get a card anywhere, you can get a bookmark anywhere. What makes us different? Our stuff is super cute, colorful, vibrant.
The mother-daughter duo has been cracking the riddle small businesses everywhere face: how to draw customers in the age of shopping while scrolling on your phone.
And I just think it's very different than what you find at a box store because they're ordering billions at a time, whereas we can make something really cool and try it out. And even if it only touches, a small audience, those 5 people are really going to appreciate it. And then we can move on to the next thing.
Of course, you can see more from Paper Crane on social media. We'll have all that linked on this story on our website, idahonews6.com. I'm your Twin Falls neighborhood reporter, Lori Nettleton, Idaho News 6.
In a
this morning's GMA First Look, one-on-one with Philadelphia Eagles running back and Super Bowl champ Saquon Barkley as he opens up about football, family, and the importance of giving back to his city.
God's gave me a tremendous ability and a blessing to have a platform, and it's my role and my job to use my platform to make an impact in my community.
How do you stay so humble? I can just tell you're a humble guy. How do you keep that?
I don't see it as being humble. I wake up every day getting to be a father, and I wake up every day getting to play a child's game and get paid a lot of money. So I always try to have a smile on my face and realize that at any moment it could be taken away.
And coming up at 7 a.m., what Saquon has to say about the controversial tush push. Plus, ESPN's Joe Buck is back at the GMA anchor desk with your GMA First Look. I'm Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, Philadelphia.
Welcome back to Good Morning Idaho. It's 5 minutes before the hour. We're starting to wrap things up here on a Friday. And if you missed it, here are the top stories that we're following from our neighborhood reporters.
The U.S. Constitution says we, the people, have freedom of speech to a certain extent. Late night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel found that out this week.
After years of investigation, the trial of former Caldwell Police Sergeant Ryan Bendewald ends with not guilty verdicts across the board. I'm your North End neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker at the federal courthouse, and I was inside that packed courtroom as the jury read that verdict. Jurors deliberated for just a few hours before determining Bendewald is not guilty on all 5 charges he faced. 3 counts of deprivation of rights under color of law and 2 counts of federal bribery.
In Meridian, reaction from Idaho's largest public schools after a lawsuit challenges school choice legislation that offers families tax credits to cover private school costs.
Private school educators say this new law will allow for Idaho families to have more freedom of choice when it comes to their child's education, making private school more accessible while motivating all schools, public and private, to raise their standards. Supporters of the lawsuit disagree, warning the bill could create an unsteady education system in Idaho.
And of course, you can learn more about all of these stories on our website just by heading to idahonews6.com.
Now, the Out the Door forecast, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
One more look at that forecast on this fine Friday. Nice cool conditions to start out the day, but we warm up quickly. We will have a couple of clouds mixed in there on top of that too. 70s on the way, rising into the 80s. We're getting fairly close to the first day of fall on Monday, but 86 expected. We'll have that nice cool down heading into the weekend. Conditions are looking really nice. Roland, we got some baseball going on tonight. I am very excited about it. We'll talk about that in just a couple seconds, but quick look at your traffic before we get to that.
The Idaho News 6 Traffic Report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
Beautiful shot of downtown Boise as always, and a quick look at that traffic. Things are looking nice on a Friday. Caldwell to downtown Boise sitting at 30 minutes, and if you're traveling the other direction, 17 minutes from downtown Boise Meridian on the westbound side of things. Conditions across the valley are looking wonderful, so go out and enjoy the nice weather and the nice traffic too. Caldwell to Garrity sitting at 13 minutes. Garrity Eagle sitting at 7. Eagle to downtown Boise sitting at 7 as well. Sorry, I almost skipped my traffic. I wanted to get to the great baseball that's going to be on the way. Roland Bears.
Right.
We're talking a little bit about the game that's going to be going on. I'm a Mariners fan, excited for some weekend baseball as they're going to be playing Houston. It's going to be an intense end to the AL West.
It's playoff baseball, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they are tied, and American League West, I mean, it's going to be fun as can be to watch that tonight.
I'm on nerve. I'm very excited for it, but man, the Mariners have not had a lot of postseason success, so we're just going to have to wait and see if they can hold up this year.
No, baseball is heating up. It's going to be fun to check out. It's a Friday night and all sorts of sports coming up this weekend, so enjoy it, everybody. Enjoy the great weather as well. Thanks for being here this morning. We'll see you next week.